You'll like this. Tonight's Survivor finale is, of course, shrouded in secrecy, much more so than even the first Survivor series last year. The only man on the planet who fully knows how it all went down and how it all ends up, show's creator and executive producer, Mark Burnett. Mark, and we've been talking about the jury all morning. You changed the jury rules this time around.
Well, I knew right after last year's finale, I was so paranoid about saying the word Richard Hatch for months. I wasn't going to go through that again, so I decided to do it live right then and there that night, and realized I couldn't allow the jury to speak to each other about their vote. Otherwise, tonight, they would already know by conferring who won, and they don't know.
And you've made sure that they haven't, in the time that has lapsed since they were out there, that they haven't been able to compare notes with each other.
Absolutely. Last night, I was with the entire jury last night, and one-on-one with me, they all confirmed to me they've told nobody, and in fact, none of them want to know. They're looking forward to the live reveal.
You and I were talking about this. I mean, the food and the lack of it became a bigger factor in this show than you thought it would be, didn't it?
Yes. The Outback really was much harder than any of us thought. It was partly that transitional time between dry season and wet season where so much rain came, they couldn't even catch fish due to the sediment that became in that river. So it really became difficult. Then, of course, the weather got to the rice they had. Then, of course, Jeff took away the shelter in return for new rice, and then that terrible night where Tina had to swim out and get back the rice they just negotiated for. It was on and on and on.
Is that your worst nightmare, that in the middle of one of these things, somebody just says, hey, I quit. Get me out of here. I quit.
That is a nightmare, and it's all down to the casting, really. I have to choose adventure seekers. People who are not only interesting, dynamic people on camera, but who can actually make it. They're people who spend their vacations, maybe river rafting, jungle trekking, climbing mountains, who do this kind of stuff. Otherwise, no one could even make it 4 days.
I was making the comment to you that it was surprising to me as I went through the backgrounds of all of these people, how many of them had lived and or worked overseas.
Yes, it seems to be a common trait. They're all travelers in both seasons and are both adventure seekers. Both seasons, that's 32 people pretty much. I think there's one or two people who got through who maybe, you know, shouldn't really have been there in terms of their adventure-seeking background. But in the main, that's a primary thing I think about in casting.
Yeah, I know these are all your children, and no parent likes to choose among their children. But South China Sea, Australia, which one has been more to your liking?
Australia's been more to my liking. That land speaks volumes to me. And as far as the group of the people, the fact they knew the game, having watched the first season, allowed the game to be more how I'd envisage the game should be, in my vision of what I was thinking. And I think that this has been a little bit of a nicer Survivor, but no less dramatic. That's the important thing.
You continually surprised at its impact and how popular it is?
I think I'll always be surprised. You know, especially, Brian, going up against Friends and ER and holding our own and maybe even beating them. Who would know a little reality show could do that?
What do you mean, maybe? We'll see you tonight.
Thank you.
Mark, thanks.
Thanks.
Remember, the 2-hour Survivor finale kicks off tonight at 8 o'clock right here on CBS, and immediately following, I'll be hosting a 1-hour primetime Survivor reunion special. And then, Mark, we can have a drink or two, or 3, or 8. There's a lot more to come. You're watching The Early Show on CBS.